Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So, Spanning Tree is, as far as the lab is concerned, is still on hold, for the reason that for something as of this, um, trying to make you understand it, I need a drawing pad. Okay, I need a drawing pad, and um, I would like to get a camera, because technically I had an interesting issue, where my uplink from my files router to my Cisco switches, the cable was missing um a broken pair. Okay, that was killing uh, my 1 gig upload, or download to, from these files, router, which is a gig. I got a gig link coming to the house, so so upgrading to gig switches was something that was really important to me because, one of the great things about this is, when I go to Steam, okay, and let's find something that I know that's only 20. It doesn't really matter. Okay, 20 gigabyte install. Okay, I got 200 left, but look at these speeds here. Bam, bam, bam. I mean, this is the first time I've ever had this because I've never had a 1 gig link come to the house. So this is great. I mean, something that's 60 gigs, man. Before I know it, it's at 90%. Okay, so now of course, um, I'm still thinking about going to a 2.5 gig link to the house. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop this. Pause. Okay, so that was the first thing that I paid attention to because I just reran that link. Okay, now, which I really, which is kind of messed up because I cut up the cable going from my PC to the actual to the Cisco switch. That too was messed up because when I repaired the uplink from the Fios router over to the Cisco switch, I was still only getting 90 megabits per second. And the cool thing, which I really, 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 and trust me, I really regret this so much, and I didn't even think about it until after I cut the cable. Okay, there were several things I really, really wish I recorded, man. It's just one of those things that you know was happening on a regular basis. Okay, when you plug in the link or enable the network card, the damn Cisco switch port would take forever. The lights will come on, then go off, come on and go off. Okay, and it will only negotiate 100 megabits per second. Okay, and that's why I was only getting 90 megabits per second download. Now, the cool thing about it is I would go into the Cisco switch and hard code it as 1 gig, and it's still on the PC side will come up with 100 megabits per second. Okay, all right, and watching the port light up, go down, light up, go down like 4 or 5 times. Okay, that's the negotiation aspect. It couldn't negotiate, so it would shut itself down and reinitiate, and eventually just said, "Screw it, you might be a gig, but I'm only doing 10 megabits on my side." Okay, and that's that cable. I really, really wish I'd saved that cable. But then again, in the future, something like that happens, I'm going to record it and so on and so on. But nonetheless, um, financially, there's some things in my life that are, messing me up. So that is what the holdup is. I'm thinking next paycheck is going to be a good time to get me a drawing pad um, and a camera so we can continue on. Now, okay, I'm still thinking about doing or adding to the course a putty session where we can go through and kind of give you a basics of putty. Okay, because that is a skill set for you to have. Now, okay, one thing about Steam is you can see all these games, and of course you can see my new game here. Um, uh, Remember, I was having a problem with my laptop, and I mean so many problems. Every application, every game, it was just a subpar machine. Okay, so I got a new machine. Okay, I'm trying to think of the. Oh, there it is. System information, not computer. Okay, so as you can see, I'm using Windows 11 Home. That's going to change because eventually I'm going to be purchasing a new Pro because I can't do the network stuff with the home version. I don't think I can manipulate the routing table. I don't think I can actually uh, do hard coding of IP addresses. Okay, as you can see, actually you can't see. I got 4 new USB network cards today. Okay, so that part is done. So now I can hook up VMware and be able to hard code those virtual machines to a physical network card. Okay, all right. So in 4 machines at the point, at this point I can do. So it's one of those things. Not to mention the fact I need more background or backplane, whatever you want to say resources like RAM and hard drive space. Okay, let's see. You can see that the system manufacturer is a Cyber Power PC. Okay, they call this a gaming PC, and I'm not, and I have to get a new graphics card, or because I could not go into um, the highest resolution for the new Doom game. Okay, I had to go back to 1920 by 1080. That's otherwise I would be overloading my memory on my graphics card. Okay, you can see my processor. All right, it's AMD, which I was originally AMD in the beginning, but then I went to Intel, and said that hey, I'm never going back to AMD, but I'm not gonna lie, and you also gotta understand too. This is the only PC since 1994 in my entire life of owning PCs that I've ever purchased a pre-built system that was built by somebody else. Okay, all right, and I'm gonna have to admit, I'm not disappointed. Okay, this is a temporary machine, and that temporariness might last for years before I would need to. And not to mention the fact this is upgradable. It's a desktop, so I have no problems upgrading what I need to do. Okay, this core processor, 6 cores, 12 logical processors. I have no complaints. So that being upgradable probably is not going to happen. Okay. Okay. This has to be upgraded. I just can't run VMs with only 16 gigs of RAM. And not to mention the fact, just Windows 11 itself, just being idle, okay, is using up like 11 gigs. So I have like 5 gigabytes of memory left. Okay. Yeah, I could probably make a couple PCs with 2 gigs, but let's be honest. Okay, I like having my virtual machines with 4 gigs at least, uh, so it's not slow and causing me issues. Okay, virtual memory. Who cares about that? But now, so that's going to be upgraded, which I need to do. And these are in my hard drive space. My hard drive space, I think it's a terabyte, and I definitely need 4 terabytes. Okay, all right. I mean, guys, I'm a gamer. All right, and I'm just now getting back into game. Okay, let's rephrase that. I used to be a gamer. I declassified myself as a gamer when I got into Cisco, and I'm now starting to get back into gaming. I was playing Legend of Zelda today, so and I actually bought me a USB NES controller. So, it's I'm kind of getting a little bit more balance. Okay. Now, of course, I'm going to be going back into my CCIE security training after I finish this annoying Security Plus. Which, yeah, guys, I hate with a passion. I don't like studying for it. I don't like preparing for the exam. I'm just as one, and you figure all the exams I've done at this point, I wouldn't have that issue, but it's just dry material across the board. So now, So these things need to be done, okay? But other things in my life has been sucking up my funds recently, so I haven't been able to, to cross that bridge. So, obviously, from your perspective, you probably thought I disappeared again, which, from my perspective, I can't blame you for feeling that way based on the history of what's been going on. Now, because of that, um, just keep in mind that those disappearances were they were um, uh, I had no choice. Okay, it was either that or lose my current contract, my current job. So that disappearance was justified, but I'm not having that problem now. So okay, let me take a breath because I just lost my breath. Whew. So I'm gonna slow down. So I don't feel comfortable moving forward until I have those two tools, okay, or the VMware set up, doing it the way I used to do it. Being able to have 4 or 5 PCs up on my screen as you're watching it, having it hard coded to a network card, doing it, and even when I did port security. Okay, it should have been done that way, but then again, it's just sports security. But we got into a topic, and I just don't feel comfortable doing it without it. So trust me, it's going to be worth the wait. And as things get further, there's going to get more. The complications is going to get more and more. Okay, because remember, we're just doing switching now. We're soon getting to the point of ending switching and getting into routing. Okay. All right, and those tools are necessary. So, okay. Now, with that being said, I was watching Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmare on YouTube. Okay, and one of the things that one of the people that were working in restaurants said, this has been working for 20 some years, it doesn't need to change. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. All right, I've always told you I'm a scientist at heart, okay, and I am a businessman, okay, at heart as well. All right, I've owned phone businesses, like I've always told you. Okay, my first one was 16 years old. All right, the one thing I can tell you based on my 4 businesses in my life, and I've had other businesses, but not gotten. I call them like playtime businesses. They weren't serious. So one thing I can teach you is how to allow a business to fail. That I could teach you. Okay? Hands down. And what you've noticed with me, especially those who have interacted with me since the beginning, which will be back in 2009, when I started YouTube and started my path into Cisco and had no idea how to configure a network device and still making videos, okay? All right. One of the things that you've noticed about me is I have no problems telling you 2 things. 1, okay, I failed. And 2, I don't know. Because apparently people, as a human being, this seems to be a serious mental disease to say I don't know or to hide their failures and give you this persona of they're successful. Okay? All right? But they're selling you their course for $10,000. All right? And it just never clicks in your head because you're so busy, wanting to give this guy $10,000, okay, not realizing that $10,000 from you and this person, that person, that's what's making him rich at the moment. Meaning he's never been rich, has never been successful. This is his persona to create a means of success so you can believe it and give him your money. Okay? All right? And the hope, false hope, that is, that you're going to be like him. Okay? His car's not even his. It's rental. Okay? That's why you only see it once in a while. So every time you see his Lamborghini, he rents it. I mean, have you noticed that, that shade of red really isn't the same shade as last time? All right? What I'm saying is this. business and life, any type of philosophy that you create in your own life, whether it's somebody else's or your own, okay? Change is inevitable, it is necessary, and it does not stop. And if you think you've been doing something for 20 years, okay, and you don't have to change anything, all right, that's why you're in the position that you're in. That's why things are not working out for you. All right? And to hear a businessman or a business owner that say nothing needs to change, that right there shows you that that person has never owned a business in their life. Okay? And that was the same case here with this episode, because that individual's, it was his dad's place. All right? Because a real businessman would never say no crap like that. And the ones that do, okay, they might be a business owner, but they've learned nothing about business in their life. Okay? And that's why when you watch Ramsey do the things that he says, he's like flabbergasted. He's like, "What? I can't believe I'm hearing what's coming out of your mouth." Okay? But regardless if Ramsey does it himself or he has a teams of people that does it, and because of the TV show, which is meant for entertainment, okay, making you see like it's all him, it doesn't matter. What matters is, and one thing that I want you to get out of this video is attitude reflects leadership. Okay? So when you have someone in the kitchen treating, okay, the let's say the sibling, the sister of the business like crap, that's because the brother is treating her like crap, and that's where it comes. And here's the thing: the brother eventually, once whatever issues they're having in a family breaks down, they're going to both end up starting to cry, make up, and work as a team. But that guy in the kitchen, okay, all right, he's not going to. All right, you're going to have to remove that person from that industry, okay, and move on with it. You have to start over. Okay, that's what that change is. Okay, all right. So you're going to come across this in your field. Okay, you're on a contract, or you're working, and the worst thing that I've dealt with in my life, and this is working in heat and air conditioning, okay, is working with a person who is a small business owner, okay, who's abusive, okay, and you can see it across the board. Everything has to be his way. Any help, okay, instead of seeing you as as an asset, he sees you as stepping on his toes because he didn't give you permission. Okay, and I'm telling you guys, we are not working at McDonald's. I don't need permission to make decisions on my work habits. Okay, especially when you are putting me in a senior position. Okay, part of my responsibility, okay, is controlling my workload. Matter of fact, even assigning myself my own workload if I see something wrong, making my own changes, going through my own change review, okay, doing my own changes on my terms, okay, managing my projects, okay, because nobody has time to do their own work. Why the hell would they want to manage yours? Okay, that's why you're hired as a senior guy. Now, if you are a senior technician in something like a heater air conditioning, same thing. Okay, you have a problem with a particular item. You call the vendor or the manufacturer, asking them about this because you've seen this happen 3 times a week, and you find out that on that assembly line, okay, they've had problems coming back, and now an entire assembly line of that particular part has been defective from the last load on the assembly line. What does that tell you? Okay, you ask them when that problem will be fixed. They're going to tell you a couple months. You don't buy that product until that assembly line has all those parts have been recalled out of the supply houses and have been replaced with working parts. Now, okay, you took that initiative to do that. Okay, So now you tell your boss, and now your boss is yelling and screaming at you on the phone because and start asking you questions like, this is a true story, by the way. Asking you questions like, do you think, let me ask you a question. Do you think, you're working for me or doing your own thing? What the hell kind of question is that? That's an abusive person, okay? And it only takes one abusive person to kill a contract or project. Okay? You're going to run across this. Alright? Now, okay, I was asked by the same person to do something that was hazardous to the entire building, that would cause a particular fire if that heating element was turned on. Okay? And I refused to do it. Okay? So, this so-called owner, alright, wrote me up. Okay? And then I wrote all over the write-up on the problems that I have with this write-up and why, okay, why the owner of the company was asking me to do something unsafe to put people's lives in death. Okay, not in harm's way, I mean death. To the point of causing an entire building to burn down in an apartment building, killing lives. Okay? Nobody on this planet is going to allow me or make me do that for a paycheck. Sorry. Okay? Now, if you hire me to hang up a picture upside down, no problem. Because it's not going to harm anybody. It's your money. We're going to do it your way. Okay? When a project manager comes to me and says, hey, we're going to do it this way, I might feel it's ridiculous, but it's no harm. Okay? We're just moving electrical signals from point A to point B. Okay? No big deal. And the thing about IT is, alright, you either do it right or do it wrong or do it half-ass. Okay? And 9 times out of 10, doing it right is the only time things are going to work out. Alright? That's why I love IT. When you're in something like restaurant work or blue collar work like electrician or heating or air conditioning, you could do things wrong and it could work. Okay? Alright? Now, 3 months later, they get another service call, okay? You don't even realize that your shady work is what's causing you to come back, okay? And the owner doesn't know either, okay? They think this is a new problem, alright? So, the thing is, the reason why I'm talking about this, okay? Attitude reflects leadership. In your career, make sure that your attitude and integrity is not affected or influenced by the people who are your superiors. Okay? Alright? Don't be like them if that attitude is bad. Because in the end, okay, and this is the thing, you're working on a project. This is your project, okay? In the end, it's your project, okay? And your manager can come in and tell you what to do, and you can listen, but when it fails, the manager does not get in trouble. You do, okay? And if it's really bad, okay, and you're let go, you're the one without the paycheck, okay? All right, that's the concept of attitude reflects leadership, where that attitude is reflective negatively and you are feeding off that negativity saying, hey, it's just work. If that's the case, then go back to McDonald's. Because that's really where workers just work. All right? Okay? So, and I'm not ragging on McDonald's. It's just the concept that you're told what to do and you do those instructions. And the work that we do, especially in IT, okay, all right, our workload and our work is influenced by behavior changes, adapting to the scenario, and being able to jag, however you say that, zigzag, sorry, zig or zag, yin or yang, on a particular scenario without having someone to tell you to do it, because that's you handling your project. Okay? All right, that has a positive aspect and a negative aspect. Okay? Negative aspect is you brought down both cores. I mean, we couldn't have any redundancy because you brought them both down. Okay? All right, so you just killed. Oh my God! Especially for like a bank. Okay? All right, you just killed their ATM fees, millions of dollars, like on Christmas Day. All right, which is their biggest fucking day of the year of ATM fees. You just killed it because you didn't have. You were so determined to fix the problem instead of just saying, you know what, I'm not touching this until the Christmas is over. Matter of fact, I want to recommend to my manager that we have a change freeze, okay, for the entire month. All right, you're not thinking along that line, Seth, because your attitude was influenced, okay, by your project manager demanding you get it done and fix the problem. Okay, that project manager does not have that authority. Okay, but that bulliness, that attitude reflection, you fed into it, and you believed if you didn't do what the project manager told you to do, okay, then you were going to lose your job. All right, guys. Part of being a senior guy, okay, and it doesn't just mean senior guy. You know, I talk about seniors a lot because there's a certain expectation that I try to bring to the table. All right, and I like to see other seniors do the same thing, which I see constantly that, you know, they don't. They're in that mentality that I wasn't told to do this, so I'm not going to do this. Okay, and that just doesn't work in our field, guys. Okay, it just doesn't work. And yes, there's lots of times that we've made changes, and when I mean changes, you know, I mean even if you're a PC tech, okay, you made a decision. Okay, and no one found out until months later. Okay, and it was the wrong decision. You didn't know that. You were just trying to help the customer. Now, in that aspect, your customer was happy and you were good on that aspect, but you still must be reprimanded for not following process and procedures. Okay, it goes hand in hand. So you don't sit there and get all mad and cry and quit because you didn't have it your way. All right. This is something that happens a lot, and like in my scenario, with the owner, okay, of the HVAC company, I had no choice but to wait until he fired me, which he did, okay, and trying to pleading his case. Okay, this is how arrogant this guy was. This guy would yell at customers, okay, and tell them that they're wrong. And he has an engineering degree, and he knows what he's talking about. Now, when a person says that, what does that tell you? He has no engineering degree, he has no education whatsoever. And that was the case. Okay, and he will repeatedly do this. And he never saw the reputation he was creating for you to talk to your customer like that. Okay? Literally, you're smarter than he is because you have an engineering degree. And his treatment towards women, it was just like, wow. Okay? It was just, it's all across, it's all there. Right in front of your face. Okay? And I have no problems with him, with that, because that's not who I am. And it never will be. But when you ask me to hook something up that is guaranteed to cause an electrical fire within minutes of turning that application on, you have lost your mind. Okay? Because in the end, who goes to jail? Yeah. And not to mention the fact, who has to live with all that death? And we're not just talking about death, guys. We're talking about children, kids, pregnant women, old people, across the board. Ain't none of that worth it. So keep in mind that there's a lot of non-technical things that we deal with in our field of IT. Okay, and we need to be self-aware that our managers are there for a reason. and using them to find out if this is proper procedure is will save your butt so many times. Okay, um, you know, just like another contract I was on, and this was actually networking. Okay, uh, the PM had this persona or this attitude towards me. Okay, which is irrelevant because you're not doing the work. I am, and it's my project. Okay, but he kept asking me to do all these things like I'm not doing that. Okay, I was like, I'm not doing that because in the end, you're asking me to bill billable hours to a customer that does not want that done. Okay, nor do you want me to ask him. You're telling me it's okay. No, we're not doing that. Okay, this puts me in a legal aspect where I am stealing the customer's time. I'm billing things that the customer is not asking for. Okay? And he kept doing this. And he was getting mad that I was not complying to his demands. So, I am hooking up a Meraki thing. Okay? Next thing you know, the internet goes down. Now, this PM calls me up and asks me what I did. I'm like, I haven't done anything yet. I haven't even set the VPN up yet. So it's impossible for anything that I've done to bring the circuit down. And I told him, we need to call the ISP. And that's not what he did because he was so convinced that whatever I did was the problem. And he even told the customer that. I was shocked. Okay? You thought you threw me on the bus, but you didn't because I know for a fact. Okay, and we spent an hour on the phone before. Oh my God, it was like the most, still today as I tell the story, I'm just like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay? Alright? I had said several times with the PM and the client on the phone, you need to call the ISP. Okay? And the PM kept telling the customer, no, Kyle, you need to go back and fucking figure out what you... I'm like, oh my God, it's ridiculous. So you know what I did? After an hour, I was just like, you know what, this is crazy. I made I put them on hold, okay? Because I had to stop the PM. I had to. This was so bad. He got these clients, this customer, so convinced that I did not know what I was doing. So I just literally put them on hold, okay? And I called Meraki support and three-wayed them on there. And Meraki was the one that told them that we lost internet connection before anything was sent to the Meraki. So your engineer, Kyle, he couldn't do anything because no changes were made. At this point, this is when Meraki told them you need to consult with your ISP, which I've already said 5 times. Okay? I've never in my life seen a PM on my side of the company that we work together, the same company, do something like this. Okay? And once they did that, okay, the ISP, alright, started working on the problem, okay, an hour later because of what that PM did. This is something that I've never have experienced in the 20-some years since 1994 of being in IT, guys. Never have I seen this. Okay, this was, once I hung up with the customer and the PM, I immediately called to my manager and says, and told him what was going on. Okay, I was disgusted. Okay, I wasn't angry. All right, I was just like, what the hell? Okay, this individual not being fired and still being a PM. Okay, yeah, that I'm not an advocate of saying everyone needs to be fired. I still believe in retraining, okay, or helping that person out. But this individual was not reprimanded down. And if I was the one that brought that ISP down, okay, I would have been reprimanded. Why can't I say that word? I would have been written up. Okay, and now on the next project, I'm dealing with this guy again. I'm like, you know what? The only solution, okay, is to remove me from this solution. I mean, I'll remove myself from this company as a solution. Okay? And sometimes in life, that's what you just have to do. Okay? As the HVAC company, working for the HVAC company, all right, fighting that guy like that was pointless. Okay? All right? Even when we were going through and trying to get unemployment, the unemployment people, right, when they were looking through my case, dude, one phone call with me and the owner and the caseworker for unemployment, dude, the phone call didn't even last 10 minutes, man. They were just like, we're going to end this. I'm going to make my decision. I've heard enough. That's how bad this guy was. Okay, and he lost. I got my unemployment. Okay, he lost because of who he was. That's why attitude reflects leadership. Okay, and in his business, the reason why he let me go and fire me is because I would not submit to that behavior, whereas other people would. Now, when you have like a metering device, okay, where it has a little small tube that's used to connect onto a pipe to adjust the metering device, and your installers cut that part off and wonder why the unit isn't working, oh my God, why would you do that? The metering device comes with a little tube that is attached to this little cylinder that has refrigerant in it. That attaches to the pipe, and when the temperature of that gas or refrigerant in that tube changes, that is what adjusts the metering device. Okay, instead of calling me or calling the owner to ask what do I do, you cut it off. Who the hell does that? You're an installer, dude. So you see something that you don't know what it is, you just cut it off. Okay, that's the attitude of the owner. That's what he would do, because remember, the owner, okay, has an engineering degree. All right, so he's smarter than you and everybody else. He knows what he's doing. And when you have to justify that type of status, it's obviously you do not have a degree at all. Okay? So attitude does reflect leadership. And, that's what I wanted to talk about today, because this show, of this particular episode, it really brought a lot of scenarios that I've dealt with in my careers since I've been working since I was 15 years old. Okay, so I just wanted to let that kind of sink in. Not saying you're going to come across this, but there's a high possibility that you will. Like I said, it only takes one person to make a contract or a project go bad. Okay, all right, it only takes one. So, you know what I'm gonna say: be strong, be determined, be Cisco.